At noon, desert sand can hit 80 degrees Celsius, hot enough to blister skin in seconds. Most people assume it stays warm all night, like a giant oven cooling slowly. They are wrong. Within a few hours of sunset, that same ground can lose almost 50 degrees. The place that nearly cooked you at 2 p.m. can freeze you solid by 4 a.m. How does one patch of earth swing between a frying pan and a meat locker in a single night? This is why deserts run hotter and colder than almost anywhere else on Earth. And once you see the mechanism, you will never look at a sand dune the same way again. Desert sand can climb past 80 degrees Celsius in direct sun, hot enough to fry an egg on a rock in minutes. It seems like all that baking earth should hold its heat for days. That is how a brick pulled from a campfire behaves. It stays warm and stings your hand for hours. Most people assume sand works the same way, a colossal radiator that keeps the air warm long after dark. Reality runs the opposite direction. The culprit is the sand itself. Desert sand is mostly quartz, and quartz has an odd habit. It heats up almost instantly, and it dumps that heat just as fast. It is not built to hold energy, it just passes it through. There is also a depth problem. Dig down about 15 centimeters at high noon, and the sand underneath is noticeably cool. Sunlight barely penetrates the surface. All that ferocious daytime heat sits in a crust barely a finger-width thick, sitting on top of tons of sand that never warmed up at all. Between the grains sit countless microscopic air pockets, and air is a poor conductor of heat. Instead of carrying warmth downward, the sand traps it right at the top. That is the paradox. By day, the surface layer actually insulates the sand beneath it, keeping the deep layers cold like a cellar. So, once the sun goes down, that thin, hot skin has no deep reserve to draw from, nothing to refill it. The moment dusk hits, that surface layer bleeds its heat into the air in under half an hour. Walk barefoot on a dune 2 hours after sunset, and it already feels ice cold. The whole desert simply stops giving off warmth. Desert sand also holds almost no water, unlike damp forest or field soil, which heats and cools slowly and keeps nights steady. Without that buffer, dry sand sheds heat far faster. But it is not just the ground losing heat fast. The warm air above it vanishes just as quickly, for a different reason. There is almost no moisture in the sky to hold it in. In wetter climates, the ground releases heat after dark, but water vapor in the air catches those escaping heat rays and bounces some back down, like a lid on a simmering pot. That is why humid nights only cool off by 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. The desert has no lid. Humidity often sits under 10%, compared to roughly 30% in a heated room in winter. No water droplets, no clouds, nothing overhead to block anything. So when the sun sets, heat radiating up from the ground meets no resistance at all. It does not linger near the surface. It shoots straight out into space. Radiative cooling is heat escaping a surface as infrared radiation. In a dry desert sky, there is nothing to absorb that radiation, so it passes straight through the atmosphere and out into space. Old desert travelers used to say, "The night sky drinks the warmth out of the ground." They were not far off. The atmosphere effectively opens a window, and the day heat pours out through it. Drop a piece of metal or flat stone on the sand at night, and it cools even faster than the surrounding air, sometimes ending up colder than the air itself. That is why frost can form on rocks in a desert before dawn, without a drop of rain anywhere nearby. Cold does not spread evenly across a desert at night. Air over the tops of dunes cools first, and since cold air is heavier, it flows downhill and settles into the low ground between dunes. That creates natural cold pockets. Near the crest of a tall dune, the night might sit around +5 degrees Celsius. Down in the hollow at the base, it can drop to -3 degrees Celsius or lower. Walk down a slope a few dozen meters, and the temperature can fall 5 to 7 degrees Celsius in that short distance. During the North Africa campaigns of World War II, troops learned this the hard way. Tanks too hot to touch by midday became freezing metal boxes by early morning, chilling crews who slept inside. The swings are brutal on rocks, too. They expand under daytime heat and contract sharply once the freeze sets in, and sharp sounds are common before dawn as boulders split from the stress. Even water reacts strangely. An open bottle left on the sand overnight can be frozen solid by 5 a.m., sometimes with a thin skin of ice forming right on the dune surface from trace moisture in the air. Cycling through both extremes in 24 hours punishes the body. Sweating to stay cool by day, shivering to stay warm by night. The classic rookie mistake is packing only light summer gear, since thin, sweat-soaked clothing offers almost no defense once the freeze sets in. Desert peoples solved this generations ago. Loose wool robes shield against sun by day and trap a layer of warm air against the body at night. Raised sleeping platforms made from branches or gear keep a person off the freezing ground, using an air gap as insulation. Desert wildlife has its own tricks. Jerboas and fennec foxes burrow roughly 20 centimeters down where temperatures stay steady, and fennecs even have fur on their paw pads to guard against frozen sand. Snakes and lizards cannot regulate body heat, so they bury into the sand at dusk to use its lingering daytime warmth. Darkling beetles climb dune crests at dawn and angle their bodies into the wind so condensing moisture runs straight to their mouths. Camels let their body temperature swing on purpose, rising near 41 degrees Celsius by day to cut water loss, and dropping to 34 degrees Celsius at night to bank some coolness for the next day. Long before refrigeration, people harnessed this nightly freeze on purpose. In ancient Persia, builders raised massive conical structures known as Yakhchāls, or ice pits, some rising several stories, with walls up to 2 meters thick, made from a heat-resistant blend of clay, sand, and lime. Shallow channels beside each Yakhchāl, fed by underground aqueducts and shaded from the sun, radiated heat into the clear night sky and froze solid by morning. Workers cut the ice into blocks and stored it in the insulated chamber, where it stayed frozen through the hottest summer months. In North Africa, nomads used a simpler version. Porous clay jars of water were left on raised ground overnight, cooled by evaporation as moisture seeped through the clay walls. Add humidity to a desert for even one day, and the whole system stalls. Water vapor traps outgoing heat instead of letting it escape, and the night stays muggy, sometimes near 30 degrees Celsius instead of freezing. No radiative cooling means no thermal stress, so rocks stop cracking, and creatures like the darkling beetle lose their only reliable source of drinking water. One variable, humidity, rewrites the rules for everything living there. The desert extreme day-night swing comes down to 3 forces working together. First, sand itself heats and cools almost instantly at the surface, with no way to store energy underground. Second, bone-dry air means no cloud cover to trap heat, so it escapes straight into space through radiative cooling. Third, cold air sinks downhill into low ground, carving out freezing microclimates at the base of every dune. The desert is not just a place of endless heat. It is a landscape built on extremes, and every single night, it hands its warmth right back to space.